welcome to another episode of the Heartland Franchise Guy, your insider's guide to all things franchising and entrepreneurship in this area. I'm Blake Martin, local small business franchise owner and your Heartland Franchise Guy. This is your one-stop shop for all resources, tools, and advocacy for anything in the franchising industry and for entrepreneurs looking to learn more about franchising and entrepreneurship around here. Speaking of entrepreneurship, our guests today are an owner and an employee of a really new spirited venture here in Nebraska. We've got a couple of guests with us today, Charissa Hansen and Suzanne Geist, and they are starting a new publication, a digital publication here in Nebraska. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So let's start off by telling us a little bit about the publication and what its intent is.
Okay. Well, I'll start. It's called Nebraska Sunrise News. It is a new venture in how to deliver news platform. It's online only, so no print, no ads, and daily.
No ads.
No ads.
Okay, we're going back to that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we did as we were researching to start this project is talk to people about what are the things you love, what are the things you don't love about online news. And one of the number one dislikes is swiping and clicking off of ads.
But I love doing that, so.
Man,
that's not what we heard.
You're not going to find that with us.
I'm a little different. I would agree. It's annoying.
It's annoying. So we've come up with this idea to do no ads, online only, paid by annual subscription, and a daily delivery of the news. Focused on Nebraska. We'll have some national news, but it's mostly in Nebraska, about Nebraska.
Okay. Gotcha. And by the way, because I'm not good at this, now I'm looking at the audience and the listeners here. By way of better introduction, Suzanne Geist, also part of the state legislature, and Charissa Hansen, a writer for this new publication, correct?
I am, and the business editor.
Great. And the business editor.
Yes.
You get a lot going on.
A little bit. Mm-hmm. But at any startup, there's a lot going on.
Good to know. So you're a startup, and of course that's the relevant part to this podcast, right? We're all about entrepreneurship and startups. Why should this publication be important to entrepreneurs?
One of the reasons is because it is a new venture. It's really an experiment, and what sets us aside from other publications are one of our taglines is news, not narrative. What that means is straight news, presenting both sides and not adding commentary within the news. And one of the questions that my business partner and I had in launching this venture is, does the public even know how to read that anymore?
Oh, that's a good question.
And we will find out. I do know, reviewing some of the stories that we've posted already, it's so refreshing to read a story that you're not telling me what to think. Our writers are understanding that the reader can think and helping them connect the dots on their own by reading the facts in the story.
Mm-hmm.
It is so interesting that you say it that way. I was literally just having this conversation with my son, 18-year-old son, headed back to UNL, Go Huskers, and we were talking about, the ability, the having the emotional intelligence, the ability to take 2, 3, 4 sources of information and read between the lines, which is not easy to do because there's always an agenda or a bias. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's kind of what we're dealing with in the news in this day and time.
Well, and it's interesting when you even say, wondering like if readers remember how to do that or know how to do that, because it seems like it's been so long since we've had something where you really can interpret your own take on a story. That's part of my job in editing too, and making sure writers remember how to do that. And
do you think that's going to be your greatest challenge?
Definitely. And we've seen some awesome pieces come through that we have to remain super objective as editors to say, oh, this is a great paragraph here, but you drew a conclusion at the end. Don't take that away from the reader. Give them the opportunity to draw a conclusion that they want to out of the information given. And so trying to make sure we're taking out, this might be conjecture. Delete that sentence, change how you're thinking about this. Make sure you stay completely out of it and just report. So it's a challenge, but I think we're up to it.
And you've made a declaration to that end. I saw on your website there, you call it a declaration of principles, a la Charles Foster Kane from Citizen Kane. I saw that metaphor in there, or that comparison. Going back to what you said at the beginning, Suzanne, news sources demonstrating their loyalty to a narrative and not the news. Where did the declaration come from, aside from Citizen Kane?
It actually came from the heart of the vision that we had to begin with. And that started with Fletcher, who is my business partner. And this is his big idea.
Okay.
So we actually are recipients of his big idea. He has been working on this for years, but really started distilling it into a business model about a year ago. And did the research and asked people what are the things they like and dislike. And then started researching other online sources that actually are funded this way and seeing some success.
Can I interject real quick?
Sure.
Funded this way. So yeah,
As
no
online
ads, it's online subscription. That is your revenue source.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. So he's the brain of all of this. And it has kind of morphed over time in the sense of some of the details of it, but the overall vision is that what's happening in our society is that everyone's taken sides. Yeah. And the media used to be the source that would present information and then allow the public to make their own decisions. And because of how we're seeing everything political right now, our ultimate goal is to reinvigorate conversation, allow both sides to talk or have intelligent conversation together. We think that's going to come from the grassroots up and not from the top down. That would be a secondary, maybe close to primary objective that we have with this project. And hopefully it spreads. We want to present intelligent conversation in editorials, in opinions, both sides, straight down the middle news, and then a sprinkling of entertainment because,
Lighten it
in
up a
all
bit.
of that, you have to have some fun. So we also have an arts and culture division, and that portends to be quite fun. So we're looking forward to that aspect of the paper as well.
In that opinion section she talked about, that's where it stays.
Exactly.
Opinions stay in the opinion section.
Yes.
Okay.
Where it belongs.
So there's a place for it, but it stays in its place.
Absolutely. There's definitely a place for it. And for healthy conversation and discourse and to be able to go back and forth with somebody and to have letters to the editor and allow our community to have input into it. But as long as it stays where it's supposed to stay.
How are you going to measure if you're hitting your target, if you're achieving your goal? Obviously memberships, right? So you can see that.
Sure.
And the thing will pay for itself.
Right.
But it's a difficult thing to quantify, right? Like, are we getting the right news to the right people? What do you think will be the success metrics that you can look to in order to identify?
For me, one of the first ones will be when other sources start picking up our news.
Okay.
And they start saying, this is good news. This is good reporting. And we hope that happens quickly. We are also understand that we're doing something that no one else is really doing. So we're trying as owners and partners to give each other some latitude to grow, because we will learn as we go along. That is a hard mindset to maintain for people who like perfection, which I think we've hired a lot of those.
We've had those conversations.
But I think we have such a cohesive kind of family atmosphere already with the people that we've hired. And I think we're starting out on a really good foot.
I agree. It's strong now, but it's going to get stronger. And I think as long as the community and the readership allows us to grow and grows with us, I think that will be the success. I think hearing it in conversations, hearing family and friends and community members reference it, seeing business leaders in the community. I mean, as business editor, that's where my mind is. So seeing business leaders in the community use us as a source too, or be available as sources to us to say, hey, we're going to be doing this with our business. Yeah. I want you to report on it. And to reach out to us for leads, for stories that they want us to do. I think that's going to be a metric for us too, just to know the business community trusts us, entrepreneurs trust us to report honestly.
And I'll add one other thing. One of the things that we've also noticed as we've been evaluating this project is so often you hear of trending news and everyone's talking about what's on trend. Yeah. But under that trend is so much activity that no one ever hears about. Mm-hmm. And so much interesting activity that no one hears about. So those are many of the stories that we're trying to tackle early on, so that we're not just of the trend, we're under it and above it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Feature pieces about the community, about small businesses, things that we can spotlight that are not necessarily those top 5 trending articles.
Gotcha. And we should go back to, you're talking about we, so the other part of the we as far as founding partners of this, Fletcher Reel, right? Yes. So pretty interesting background there on the Reagan Bush transition team, spokesperson for NASA, has run his own agencies. So
he's an
quite
author,
a variety.
Quite an interesting, diverse background, great thinker, and he's the idea man behind this. So yeah.
And right there's a lady that has to make all those ideas happen.
Yeah.
Correct, Charissa?
That takes a team.
Yeah.
Right.
He is inspiring he is so good at getting the room excited, about getting all of the reporters and staff members pumped about the vision. He has the vision, laid it out, you're implementing the vision, and very, very focused on history and learning from it and learning from things that have happened in the last 10, 20, 30 years in journalism, what its intent was from the beginning, and he can get us all fired up talking about it.
Interesting. Very interesting. Always good to have multiple perspectives. And I guess that's what you're driving towards anyways.
It is. It is. And it's interesting as well. I think your viewers would be interested to know that in our employee pool, the diversity of thought and culture and party,
party affiliation, you
mean?
Yeah.
We just have the entire spectrum. Yep. And so not only are we trying to produce a product, we're trying to actually live that behind the scenes. And so that happens in the office, and it will happen on the platform as well. And so I'm excited to see what that produces, and then the conversation that produces, and as we feed that. So I think that's where we need to go again as a country. And so we figured then we better start ourselves. So we're trying to live what we speak. So
lots of diversity of thought in the office.
Well, I commend you on your timing as far as what seems to be the never-ending cycle of presidential elections. I guess we're getting close to the official beginning of that.
Yes.
So it ought to be an interesting time to...
It should be an interesting time to exist.
Yeah.
And to try to cover everything. Objectively.
Certainly.
Yes.
Yeah. Before I forget, how do people get a hold of you and or subscribe? Because this is a membership digital publication.
Correct. NebraskaSunriseNews.com.
NebraskaSunriseNews.com. All one word, no spaces.
All one word, no spaces. Okay. www.NebraskaSunriseNews.com.
Gotcha.
And if anyone in the area too, because I know you have a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs who listen as well, have ideas for stories to cover, the email is press@NebraskaSunrise.com.
What else should we know about the publication?
I'll unless you have...
No, you go right ahead.
Right now we have a lot of reporters in the Omaha and Lincoln area, in the metro area surrounding. We are hoping, though, to cover the whole state. We will be covering the whole state. We'll have ag news, business news, sports from the whole state.
Okay.
So as we expand our staff too into more central and western Nebraska, we're going to have more coverage out there. So if you have listeners in that area as well, this will serve the whole state. And even in sports is something unique too. There will be not only the high school, college coverage, but there will also be youth sports covered as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So something fun too if parents want to see their 10-year-old Johnny's name in the paper, that also probably will be happening.
Okay.
And we think it will be interesting over time to track some of those athletes and see where they end up across the state or maybe across the country, but starting in youth sports.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun plans to unfold with that as well.
All right. How'd you come up with the name?
That was Fletcher's doing.
I was going to say, I wasn't in that discussion.
That came, actually, he recruited me, and so he already had the name picked out before we met. So I think because it's a new day.
I think it's hopeful. Fresh.
Yeah.
Aspirational. Interesting.
A whole new idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you see your roles evolving with this publication over the next few years, let's say?
Well, I can speak to mine. I have this year and 2 additional years as a state senator after that. And once we get this business model perfected, my job will be going to other states and presenting this to them and hopefully building a network across states of Sunrise News. So Missouri Sunrise News or Iowa Sunrise News or who knows, New York Sunrise News. We'll see.
Sunrise is on all states.
That's right.
Exciting.
That's right.
I love that so much.
You can pay me a royalty for that later, by the way.
We'll talk.
And for me, I'm the business editor, so my hope would be to just see it grow, to see, like I mentioned before, being the trusted source and to know that business owners want to be a resource as well. So I just see that growing in beyond the Omaha metro area to Lincoln, to across the state, and to our ranchers and farmers, because that's such a huge part of our economy in the state. So I just see that growing quite a bit.
Fantastic. I can't think of a better spot to wrap up this interview, by the way. So thank you.
It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We appreciate both of you being here, Charissa, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck in this new venture. It's a challenge,
Blake.
but that's what makes it worth the while, right?
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You bet. And thanks to all of you for joining us for another episode of the Heartland Franchise Guy, hearing again from some entrepreneurs trying something new and different. Look forward to seeing you again soon on another episode of the Heartland Franchise Guy.